Good evening, everyone. Welcome to week number 3 of TGP1. This is our 35th season in the year in which the series heads into its 10th year anniversary. We have been treated to some phenomenal racing so far this season, and tonight the championship fight continues at Italy and Monaco, the Temple of Speed and the Jewel in the Crown. So far, it's four-time champion Softy who leads the way following an impressive start to the season, but behind him there's the chasing pack of Dan, Corey and Matt, all former champions, keeping him honest. I'm joined tonight by a TGP1 champ himself, Roy Scorer. Great to have you alongside me, Roy. Tonight is beautifully poised, isn't it?
Yeah, it's looking tight so far. Well, maybe not so much. Soft Top has set a very impressive 18.4 currently, but Matt Tibos is currently on a final lap, just 0.02 of a second off after the first sector. So let's keep an eye on him and let's see how close he can get to Softy, maybe even beat him.
It's Softy, currently the quickest man on track, a 1:18.4, 4/10 quicker than anyone else so far. He is the championship leader, he is the man in form, and he is currently provisionally pole, 4/10 ahead of Matt, with still 7 minutes to go. So let's quickly go through the championship standings after the opening 2 weeks. Softy leads the way, 21 points clear of Dan the Man. Dan the Man is out of qualifying. An earlier incident through this section that Matt Tibos is going through now. Unfortunately for him, he will start no higher than 15th. Most likely it will be P18 and the back of the grid for him. That's a shame, of course, for Dan the Man. Matt Tibos currently second in this qualifying session, maybe about to go pole position, and he has done that. Just 0.03 quicker than Softy. He edges his rival, and for now takes provisional pole, but still drivers will have another chance to get one more run in. But it is Dan the Man, P2 in the championship. Aidan Griffin's a good start for him. He won in Bahrain, but like Dan, he is out of qualifying. He will not be improving on his current position, which is P7. Jack Hickman is 4th in the championship, currently down in 9th at the moment. So the title contenders, other than Softy, are all struggling at the moment. But Matt Tibos currently 5th in the championship following a very disastrous weekend last week where he was fighting his internet provider other than the drivers on the circuit. So 6 minutes to go. Matt Tibos, for now, so far this season, has had the edge in qualifying over Softy. Softy with only one pole position. Do you think Softy can beat the time we've seen from Matt so far, Roy?
Well, I mean, he's got 6 minutes left to do it, so he hasn't got a lot of time. Should get one lap in, maybe not quite enough time for two, but yeah, he likes to dial his way into sessions and stuff. He always goes for the mediums at first just to get his eye in. So it'll be interesting to see how the second run on the soft tyres go. So he'll be more tuned with the track.
Indeed it will. Softy starting his run on the medium tyres as he normally likes to do. I always say it's for showing off, but he assures me it is just to get his eye in and get used to the circuit. But Softy is now on his outlap. He should get this lap and maybe have time to come in for another set of soft tyres if he invalidates or goes wrong, isn't improving on the time, maybe if Matt chooses to pit and go again. So Softy will start his third session in this lap. A 1:18.482 is the time he needs to beat to take pole position. We are expecting a dry race, so no chance of rain here at Italy, but of course we have Monaco in an hour's time, so do stick with us. We'll have some great racing there, I'm sure. It's always entertaining, Monaco. You do not want to miss that. But Softy, it's so important. He nails this lap. Matt Tibos has set the time, and it's so close. These two have been so close all season, come qualifying, but it is Matt Tibos who has had the edge, and Matt does need a strong night tonight if he's to get himself back into the title fight. The reigning champion under somewhat pressure, only in the 3rd week of the season. But Softy is down in the first sector, about 800s off from his previous best. Such a technical track this, got to get it really just right, ride the curbs, get the traction, and get into the straight lines with ultimate speed. Matt Tibos and Softy currently 1st and 2nd, but even behind them, Corey not too far back in P3. We'll keep an eye on him. What is Softy's time? In the middle sector, he is quicker. He is exactly where he needs to be to take over Matt Tibos' time at the front. If he can just get these final few corners right, Softy will be the new fastest driver in this session. Matt Tibos is in the pit lane. I'm sure he'll be watching this to see what his rival can do. We've got Corey and Jonas about to leave the pits for their final run, but this is looking good for Softy. The AlphaTauri driver knows he can get in the low 18s, and he's going to need to do that to beat Matt Tibos. And he chooses to pit, so maybe he was down on his lap around the final corner and thinks, you know what, I can go quicker. So into the pit lane he comes. Are you surprised by that?
Yeah, I'm very surprised by that. Yeah, there must have been a mistake, but the lap was still valid, so I'm guessing it was just slower in the end. It must have been a significant issue with the telemetry. He must have saw that he was never going to improve. So yeah, that's I am quite surprised to see that, and I think well, both Jake Davies and Jay Luke have invalidated their laps, and I think the highest driver name actually on the lap is Alex What
can
right now.
What can Alistair Bain do? He is improving on his time at the moment. He is a 10th up after the middle sector. Alistair Bain, the TGP2 reigning champion, as you mentioned. We've seen last season Con Hoffner was the reigning TGP2 champion, came up and got podiums in his debut season. Alistair so far yet to achieve that, but it is only week 3. Alistair has the pace, he has the strategy. Can we see him put it all together this season and take his first podium in the top tier? Alistair crosses the line. Where does he go? Can he improve on P12? He stays P12. So I'm not sure if maybe he invalidated his lap or didn't improve, but he stays P12 with a 1:19.3.
I believe he improved his time, but not his position. So yeah,
okay,
so 3 tenths quicker.
He did go quicker then. Did Alistair Bain, the youngest driver in TGP1 at the age of 13. Meanwhile, Phil Bargewell, the oldest driver in TGP1. Do you know how old Phil Bargewell is, Roy?
I believe he's approaching his mid-80s now, I believe.
He is approaching his mid-80s. He had his second vaccine today, his second dose of his vaccine. So we wish Phil all the very best. And I'm sure he'll be fine into his final years of his life. Anyone out there on track at the moment, Roy, that's doing a good job?
Currently we've got Sophie and Corey on outlaps. The highest driver who's on a lap that is actually valid is Jack Hickey down in P11 actually. I probably would have expected higher results now, as his recent form has been quite impressive. So let's see if he can improve. He's heading now down to the Parabolica. Currently P11 with a 19.2. It's a very tight field. So let's see if he's around into the corner, don't run too wide, keep it within the track limits, and he approaches the line and he sets a 118.7. He jumps up to 3rd place. So very impressive from the Racing Point driver.
Jack Hickey really impressive this season. He did so last season in his debut season of TGP2, but with 1 minute and a half to go, Jack Hickey puts himself into P3, still 3 tenths back from the top 2, but it is so tight, and he's crucially got ahead of that really close pack of Corey, Jonas, Jake and J. Luke, who are all separated back from Con Hoffner too. Less than a tenth between those 5 drivers. So Softly are now on his final lap, I believe.
As is Corey, and Corey was 400 up after his first sector. He's heading into Lesnar 2 now. What can the Englishman do? Can he dethrone Matt Tibos, who's currently on pole? Let's see if he heads down into Ascari. What's his time? He's 2 tenths up. Now, is that 2 tenths up on pole, or is that 2 tenths up on his own time? The effective balance he has, so he's only got Parabolica left. As he heads down the back straight now, giving the McLaren a nice toe behind. Just one more corner at this 11 corner, temple of speed. Let's hit the apex, keep it within the line. If he's done that very nicely, where can the outside go? He goes with a 118.6 for P3.
Over to Softy then, currently P2, he is behind Matt Tibos, but he is improving. He will get a toe from Paul in front. I think this is good for Softy. If Paul does not impede him in the final corner, this is fantastic for Softy. Look at the extra pace he's going to get, the slipstream effect from Paul. Paul is not going to improve on his lap. He's not going to have time for another session either, so that's going to help Softy massively in his fight against Matt Tibos. Matt Tibos has also started his lap. What can Softy do? Round the final corner to the line. Is it pole position? Number 2 of the season. He stays P2, he doesn't improve. I'm surprised, he was looking quick in the middle sector, but he's not going to improve on that lap time. Jonas is coming up to the final corner now. What can he do? Currently P5, looking for a strong result here. He's 5 tenths back from the front 2. Can he himself get himself onto the second row ahead of Corey and Jack Hickey? Jonas round the final corner, so crucial to keep this tight. Get a good exit down to the start finish straight. Jonas, can he improve? A 1:18.9 is his current best. He goes pole with a 1:18.450. Where did that come from? Matt Tibos, what can he do? It's down to Matt, I think, and Matt's invalidated his lap. I believe it's red for me, which means Jonas would have pole position unless anyone else can improve out there. J. Luke, I don't think he's going to improve in P7. Matt Tibos does not improve on his lap, I don't believe. Jonas should have pole secured here. Unless Ginger Andy can do something at the final corner. Andy's run out of fuel. So no, Jonas takes, I have to say, Roy, a shot pole position. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, don't get me wrong, Jonas is a quick driver, but yeah, pole position, I was not expecting that. So I'm very impressed by the Essex man to take pole position for Renault at the Italian Grand Prix.
Wow. I really did not see that coming. I thought it was going to be between Matt and Softy, and maybe Corey. But it was Jonas who took pole position, and wow. That is a turn up for the books. So then, is Jonas a potential race winner come race day? Of course, as I said, we've got Monaco later tonight. 2 races tonight. That's the format here in TGP. So do stick with us over the next hour and a half. But Jonas, wow, what a lap. He's just nailed it, hasn't he, Roy?
Yeah, he moves to put all his sectors together, and yeah, it's very, very impressive. He's got the two, let's say, title contenders behind him. Of course, Dan is at the back of the grid, but yeah, Softcop and Matt Tibos right up at the front of the championship. Can Jonas fend them off? It's going to be fascinating. Just 35 thousandths of a second separating the top three.
Jonas has the second most pole positions in TGB1. That is his 56th pole. Dan is somewhat ahead on 81, but 56 for Jean. He's now 4 ahead of Softy. Softy, I think, will be disappointed to be down in third, but look at the gaps. Softy was just 3 thousandths off Matt, who himself was just 300ths off the pace of Jonas. So it is really tight. Those top three, less than half a tenth between them. This race is beautifully poised.
Yep, looking forward to it. Now, turn one around here is crucial. It's very, very tight. You need to be, well, sometimes it's luck that comes into it. You don't want to get boxed in. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it all pans down into turn one.
The drivers then preparing for this race. Round 5 of the season. Softy, championship leader, starts in P3, but he has nailed the start so far this season. We've seen already in Bahrain and Japan, he started second on the grid, but has made sure that his car has been P1 on the road into turn 1. 30 seconds to go then. Who's your shout for the race win here, Roy?
I'm going to back Johners on this one. I think he's a quick driver who knows how to keep his head clean, so hopefully he can fend off the title contenders and give us a good race win.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, that's for sure. Pit stops, a lot of drivers starting on the soft tyres. Pit stops should be around laps 5 to 7. That's what we think. I don't know what AWS think. I'm sure we'll see that during the opening lap graphic. Here we go then. The Italian Grand Prix. The drivers are ready. We're about to go racing. It's Jean-Luc Taylor on pole position. Matt Tibos alongside him. Keep an eye on Softy behind. Lights out in Italy, and away we go. And it's a good start from Jonas, a crucial one. But behind him, Matt Tibos has got an even better start. Side by side already as Softy tries to defend from Corey for P3. Jonas, for now, loses the lead to Matt Tibos. Matt Tibos has the inside. Jonas gets his breaking point spot on though. And now can Softy get ahead of Matt himself? But no, Softy has dropped back behind Corey. Corey and Softy, in fact, is down to 5th position. It's a dreadful start. He's behind JD as well. He needs to be careful that Jack Hickey is right behind him. So far, everyone is cleanly through turn number 1. Jonas does crucially keep the lead ahead of Matt Tibos. Corey 3rd, Jake 4th, and Softy down in 5th. It's further behind Jack Hickey and Jay Luke are going side by side for 6th and 7th. Those two getting very close, and for now is Jack Hickey that takes the position into P6. Jay Luke for now P7, and Dan the Man, keep an eye on him throughout this race. He's 15th at the moment and needs to work his way up through the field to get himself some good points.
Yeah, very clean start from John. Is very impressive. He managed to outbrake Matt around the outside of turn 1, which became the inside for turn 2, which was crucial, and now he just needs to fend them off. He's got the hard part done. The start is often half the battle, but perhaps at Monza maybe not so much. And we see a predicted pit stop strategy. AWS thinks that
there you go.
At some point between laps 7 and 12.
Con Hoffner has passed Alistair Bain for P10. He's already down 2 places from where he started, but he's found a place back on Alistair Bain, up into P10 for him. But Matt Tibos for now chasing Jonas. 4 tenths is the gap as we see a move between Softy and Jake for 4th and 5th. Softy back into the top 4. Jake might have another lunge into turn 1 to take the position back, but it's looking good for Softy to hold on for now. He's just enough ahead, and Jonas continues to lead this race from Matt Tibos. It's very beautifully poised, this race. I keep saying that. Matt Tibos just a 10th back from Jonas. This is a real chance for him to get ahead. He needs to get ahead now and full clear, because he knows that Softy is behind Corey. Can Jonas keep him back for as long as possible? Will Matt choose to do an undercut to try and outmaneuver Jonas 1996? Jonas looking for it to be his first win in a very long time. I think Monaco last season would have been the last time, in which of course Dan made a strategic disaster class. Dan the Man has gained 3 places into 15th. Not where he wants to be. He needs to keep picking up places. But for now, I think in the background we're going to see Paul make a move on CJH into P12. This is outside the points, but of course they all come crucial towards the end of the race. And we've got Paul and CJH keeping position for now. There will be no move into the next corner. It's been a very clean start to this race, but Jonas crucially ahead of Matt Tibos and Corey, White on the back of Matt as well.
Oh, and we have Jay Luke in the wall on the exit of Ascari. Will that bring out a safety car or a virtual safety car? The Alfa Romeo driver in the wall, out of the race. And I don't believe there's anything so far. There is a gap on track for the, track is clear, as you see in the McLaren top into the pits, and that's Ginger Andy from P8.
Look at this train at the front, it's brilliant, isn't it? Jonas, Matt, Corey and Softy all so close, about a second between all four of them. I wonder if one of the four would maybe pit expecting a safety car, but all four have chosen to stay out. It is Jonas who for now leads, but the gap is less than 2 tenths. Matt Tibbles is keeping with him, but Jonas is using his ERS wisely. He keeps clear of the Mercedes for now. Corey and Softy just behind these two. So the front four are in a league of their own at the moment. I say that, fifth place is only a second back, with Jackie Lee now closing on Jake Davis. So it's all very close here at the front. On lap 3, still a long way to go, but Jonas, a crucial start and crucially leading this race after the first few laps.
Strategy is going to be key at this track with such long straights as Jake Davies, I should say, gets a penalty. Yeah, ERS deployment is going to be absolutely crucial around here, because it's very easy to run out of ERS around here. Yeah, it's all going to be about playing the long game when it comes to your ERS management. As Johners, I think, has he made a mistake on the exit of the Scary? Matt is now all over the backside heading into Parabolica, but I think he's just going to be able to hold him off, is Johners. And yes, the Renault driver keeps the lead, for now at least.
Of course, DRS now comes into play. Another chance for Matt Tibbles to get the move finally done on Johnson. He might not even need it as Corey dives into the pit lane from P3. Matt Tibbles takes over at the front. He is the new race leader here. DRS, Slipstream all coming into play. And John is demoted to P2 as Corey makes an early call to come into the pits. He's got to be very careful. He could come out in a battle with the McLaren, which is Ginger Andy at the back of the grid. But now Softy, it'll be his turn to try and clear Jonas. What can Jonas do? Can he stick with Matt Tibbles? But I think for Matt, he has been a pure class this season. Very unfortunate last week to miss out on the points that he did. And I think Matt passing Jonas was inevitable. I believe Jonas. Sorry, Roy.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Matt now, he's already pulled a 9/10 gap as Jonas dips wheels into the gravel on the exit of the second chicane. And now Softcop is all over the back of Johners, as Matt is now 1.2 seconds clear of the Renault driver. So this is, you know, crunch time now for Softy. He has to get by Johners if he wants to take this race win.
Crucially for Corey, he did come out in clean air. He cleared Andy and Paul, so he does have a good run now, as we see what Matt, Jonas and Softy to do. Matt is setting some serious pace up front already. 1.5 clear of Jonas, who is now under attack. I think Softy will want to get through into this net, at least wait until the battle into turn 1. He'll get the DRS and the slipstream, of course, if he chooses to wait. Will we see any of the top 3 dive into the pits? What Corey has done. Corey is now on the medium tyres. Matt Tibbles chooses to stay out. Jonas does come into the pit lane. I think he knew that Softy was going to get through anyway. As he sped in the pit lane, he has sped in the pit lane. It is Jack Hickey now going to go for P3 on Jake Davis. The racing point looks so much quicker, and Jake Davis, too much of a fight. He's now down to P4, but that is not what Jonas needed, is it?
No, I'm so gutted for Jonas. He just, was too eager. I think he decided at the very last one to dive into the pits, and I think he's paid the price for that last minute decision. He wasn't able to hit the brake pedal quick enough. He's now got a 5-second penalty.
8th, 9th and 10th. Andy, CJ, and also close, and Aiden for now sits behind down the man right behind these two. This is great racing between these three. They were side by side through turn 1. Will Aiden go for a move on the McLaren driver? He thinks better of it. He's not going to get through there. CJH for now holds on to that 8th place, but Aiden is all over him. He's harassing him. He wants that position and happy to sit back for now. Aiden Griffin's looking racy here. Will he take the place from CJH? DRS comes into play for the Racing Point driver this time round. He's so close. Surely he's going to get through in the run down to Ascari. He'll go right, going right. CJH demoted to P9 and can down the man get involved. Not just yet. He's a bit too far back. Move from Aiden. Crucial. Had some great battles already this season. We saw in Japan. They got very close into turn 1, but Aiden got through as Matt Tibbles comes round the final corner now. Is he going to this time choose to pit to react to Jonas and Corey? He slams on the brakes. He should get that to slow down. As does Softy. The front two are into the pit lane.
Yeah, I think Daniel might be disappointed to not be making more progress as he comes into the pits now. Ferrari have elected to make a pit stop because he's leaving the pit lane. No, he doesn't think he thought he was going to. He nearly hit the pit board, but yeah, all is well. And now where do Matt Tibbles and Softy come out?
Well, Corey and Jonas are racing into turn 1. It's going to be very close. I think it's going to be very... The Mercedes might just take it. Here they come. The two of them are out of the pit lane. And that's Softy ahead of Matt Tibbles. So Softy cleared the Mercedes driver. Jonas will retake the lead. And Corey's going to go round the outside. Terry, he's going to get him. Who is he? Brilliant racing here. Corey. Softy's very close. Slight contact. Softy onto the grass. And that allows Matt Tibbles to get through on the AlphaTauri. With that one. Corey pushed him out of room. Matt Tibbles now looking to get through. helpful for Jonas. He's now leading the race, but of course he's got that 5-second time penalty, which is the last thing he needs.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what Corey was doing, at least from my camera angle. It looked like he should have given Softy a bit more room, and then it's allowed Matt Tibos back through after being undercut in the pit lane. Can Johners build a gap now? I mean, Corey's looking on it at the moment. He's within DRS range of Johners. DRS ring right open, and well, I mean, he's not close enough to make a move, but yeah, it's maybe that will be a steward inquiry at the end of the race. But yeah, Johners.
Oh, Corey's off! He's in the wall! He's out of the race! And there is a bit of karma there. The virtual safety car is deployed, which is great news for Phil and Kong, who have just dived into the pit lane. I think Aiden, CJH and Waze will also dive into the pit lane, so that throws a spanner into the works. But Johners, wow, Corey is out of this race. His championship hopes are dealt a huge blow.
I think Phil Bargewell might actually be leading this race unless Johners has just got through. But Johners has a 5-second penalty. So I think Phil Bargewell has managed to come now into a net P2.
Well, he's side by side with Matt Tibos, so I'm not quite sure who's meant to be ahead of who.
I think Phil had the right away. And now...
Well, so Phil Bargewell somehow finds himself in a position as the VSC ends, and that is great timing for Matt Tibos, who has got some brilliant speed. And look at Softy as well behind him. Softy, a great view of this. Will he go for a move on the Mercedes driver? He thinks about it. The door will shut, and for now, Softy will have to sit behind. But Johners, Phil, Matt, Softy, second, third, fourth, fifth on the road. The top four once Jordan makes his up. Surprise, Jordan didn't actually come into the pits for soft tyres. The tyres do last quite a bit here, but Softy, it was looking so good. He came up the pit lane in what was a net P1, and somehow 2 corners later was in a net P4, so he'll be seething. But Corey out of this race. The Alfa Romeos are both out. That's a disaster for those two. Not what their championship hopes needed in the constructors fight. Of course, Jonas with a 5-second penalty, don't forget. So it is really Phil Bargewell leading this race from Matt Tibos and Softy. Can Matt Tibos get a move on Phil? It will be for the win if he can. Of course, no one else in this battle has time penalties. Phil looking very quick on these fresh medium tyres. Of course, Jonas has done an extra 2 laps on his rubber, so keep an eye on that, and it's going to be a great move here, surely. Is Phil going to be close enough to think into turn 1?
I think he could very well be. How hard is Jonas willing to fight? Because Jonas just needs to take it home as quickly as he possibly can with that penalty. I don't think Phil's close enough, and no, he does not go for it. He bides his time. Now he's lining up a move now, perhaps into turn 4. Can the Ferrari driver get past the Renault? He's just 3/10 back, and he's going to need a lot of errors deployment. I think that gap's only getting bigger. I think Phil's going to have to wait for the next DRS zone.
Got to battle the Scots as well for 9th and 10th. Andy and Aiden fighting away. Aiden in a McLaren sandwich. Managed to clear CJH, of course, before the stops, and it's now called 3 seconds on him. Andy right behind the Red Bull of JD. There's battles throughout the track. It's hard to pick one. We'll keep an eye as well on the battle at the front as well with Phil, Matt and Jonas, but we can see Aiden all over the back of Andy, wanting to get through. That racing point is looking quick. Andy pitted 4 laps ago, so is on much older medium tyres. Aiden also helped massively by the safety cars. Matt Tibos is going for a move on Phil Bargewell, I think, down to Ascari. Is he quite close enough? He's not. Jonas for now holds on to the lead, and Phil for now holds on to what is a net P2. Jordan should come in very shortly unless he himself is waiting for another safety car for VSC, but it's looking good for Phil Bargewell and Matt Tibos and Softy, as Softy goes for a move on Matt Tibos into the final corner. Very brave, and the Mercedes goes a bit wide, and Softy takes the position from him. The championship contenders are going wheel to wheel at the final corner here. It's going to be a drag race down into turn 1. Which of these drivers will have the DRS? I think it is Matt Tibos, which will now be great for him in his battle with Phil Bargewell. We could be 3 or 4 wide going into turn 1. Softy has the inside into turn 1. Will he have the advantage? He brakes much later. Will he tag the Ferrari and Phil in front? He doesn't, but he does crucially take the position from Matt Tibos, as now into P3. That was brilliant stuff.
Excellent racing between all 3 of them. I did think Softy was going to hit Phil Bargewell from that camera angle, but no, everything was kept clean. Great to see. 4/10 separating each of these drivers. Incredible racing that we're seeing here at Monza tonight.
Fantastic stuff. We've also got JD right on the back of Kong, about a 10th between them. They're getting very close. The Red Bull wanting to get through. He can't quite find a gap, unfortunately for him, and unfortunately for Dan the Man. Look at this, there's Aiden on the inside of JD. Is he going to go into P7? Looks like he will. It's a beautiful move. While JD was fighting Kong, Aiden saw his opportunity moment and takes P7 from him. So brilliant stuff. Now Andy will look to do the same behind him. But what can Softy do about Phil Bargewell? They are fighting for the race win. Matt Tibos will keep within a second of Softy, but maybe now Softy turn it down a bit, save the ears, save the tyre, and goes for a final lap or 2 dash. JD looking to clear Aiden. Aiden looking to get ahead of Kong. Kong looking very good for a P5 at the moment. Of course, Jordan has now made his stop. He has gone to the back of the field, but will we see Phil Bardwell finally getting through on Jonas? Softy right behind Phil. The top four again, about a second between them as they come down to turn one. Phil has DRS, as does Softy. Phil getting very close to the Renault of Jonas. I think he's a bit too far back to go for a move into turn one. Jonas defends it. Phil will have to go to the outside. They need to be very careful. They almost bang wheels. Phil Bardwell, does he take the position from Jonas? Still side by side, and still Softy right behind the pair of them. Might just take the pair of them. He takes Jonas. He goes to the left. Softy into P2 for now. Jonas though still on the inside, and Phil Bardwell without DRS, without any more errors, down to this next chicane. Will he hold on to P1? Will Jonas lift out of this and let Softy take the position? He does. Softy into P2, Phil into P1, and now Matt Tibbles will look to clear Jonas on the inside of the Renault driver, and Jonas from P1 to P4 in just a couple of corners. Not what he needed.
Yeah, very disappointing lap from Jonas so far. Yeah, down to P4 as you said, which I think at the moment might actually be a net P9.
I think it is, yeah. So tight.
The top 9 are right together. Well, it's very impressive. As Phil now leads the race, but he's not benefiting from the toe of Jonas anymore. So now he just needs to fend off. But I think Softy, it has to be said, Softy and Matt do look quicker than the Ferrari driver. Although it has to be said, the Ferrari driver did benefit from the virtual safety car. But Phil Bardwell leads this race just 2 tenths ahead of Softy. What can the AlphaTauri driver do into the first chicane?
I think it's going to be Premier League versus Championship here. Phil Bardwell's going to be a sitting duck surely down into turn one. We've seen already how quick the AlphaTauri is on the straight lines. He will now have the advantage of DRS. He'll use his extra bit of errors that he has over Phil Bardwell. Phil, will he defend the inside line? Softy's going to go for it, I think. He breaks later. Phil Bardwell is there still. We've got a yellow flag in sector one. I think Haz has gone off. So that's Waze. Could be a late safety car or VSC, but for now, Phil holds on. Yellow flags, no overtaking here. Paul is also out to the race. 4 drivers out with 3 laps to go. Phil, look how close the AlphaTauri is right behind him. We're going to see them go side by side into the chicane. Phil makes Softy go to the right. Phil will keep the inside for the next corner, but Softy breaks later. They're still side by side. And Phil, for now, holds on to the position of Matt Tibbles. Will take Softy for P2, I think. Softy, from fighting P1, is now down to 3rd and behind Matt Tibbles.
Amazing racing as Phil somehow managed to keep the lead, but now he's got Matt Tibbles behind. He's got a different challenger. They're throwing everything at Phil, but somehow he's managing to keep that gap. Jonas is still with them despite the penalties, but as we see now, the AlphaTauri driver side by side with Matt Tibbles. Can Softy go around the outside? No, he can't. As Phil,
oh no!
Phil puts the penalty. No!
Classic Phil Bardwell. He takes a penalty with 3 laps to go from the lead of the race, and that throws away all of his hard work. And keep an eye on Aiden. He is now in P5 right on the tail of Jonas. Aiden will get a podium as things stand. A great result for him if he can keep it to the end without any time penalties. JD also carrying penalties, so Jonas might not lose too much towards the end. Matt Tibbles now will want to clear Phil Bardwell as soon as he can, because he knows Softy will be right back at him if he doesn't. Can the Mercedes driver get through into turn one? I think he's too far back. Phil will not be passed from there. Phil's a very wise racer. I say that, he has got a time penalty now, which means he will not win this race unless Matt and Softy drop 3 seconds back or themselves pick up time penalties. 2 laps to go. Phil Bardwell leads this race on the road. Matt Tibbles getting very close to the back of the Ferrari as Aiden has passed Jonas for P4 in the background. He will now start to chase after the front 3 of Softy, Matt and Phil. Aiden's tyres a lap younger than all 3 of them. Softy getting very close to the Mercedes. I still think Softy is a real shout to win this race, looking for his 4th win of the season. The championship leader is looking very good here. If he can just keep within Matt Tibbles. Matt Tibbles crucially must keep within a second of Phil to take the DRS from the Ferrari. Phil is about 7 tenths clear. It's a shame he's got this time penalty. A shame for John too, because John did not lose 5 seconds, or not gain 5 seconds from speeding in the pit lane. He probably gained about a tenth if that. But unfortunately, it is the rules. If you speed in the pit lane, you're seen to have gained an advantage, and you do get the time penalty. As Matt Tibbles is very squiggly, and Softy's going to gloriously take the position from him and take what is a net P1 as they go on to the final lap. Matt Tibbles is still right with him, side by side. Will he lift out with this? Maybe try and take the DRS into the next corner. They make slight contact, and Softy takes the position, and now Aiden's going to be right on the pair of them. Could Aiden take both of them? Could Aiden take a career 5th race victory? This is brilliant stuff. Matt Tibbles and Softy are side by side. Phil Bardwell, for now, holds the lead, and you can see Aiden right behind these 3. The top 5, the top 6 are separated by about a second and a half. This is brilliant stuff. Matt Tibbles thinks about on Softy. The 2 of them are side by side. Matt Tibbles running out a road, and now there's a chance that Aiden could take the pair of them. Matt has picked up a 3-second time penalty. Softy does not need to finish ahead of them on the road. Will he know that? Softy and Matt still side by side for about the 15th time in this race. Aidan Griffin's also looking good for a potential upset here. Can he pinch the race victory? Softy doesn't need to pass Matt Tibbles, he knows that, but he's got to keep Aidan behind because Aidan knows that he himself can take the position from Softy and take the race win. Up the inside, can he do it? Not quite. Softy for now holds on. Matt Tibbles for now keeps Softy back, and Phil has pulled 1.4 seconds. If he can find 1.6 more, he would take a shock victory still. But Softy is looking good because Matt Tibbles has a time penalty. Will he appeal that? Of course he got it for a battle side by side with Softy. Will Softy go for the move on Matt Tibbles? I don't think he will, but this will allow Aidan to get a better run through Ascari and maybe take it. Aidan has, I thought he'd picked up a penalty, but it wasn't, it was Calababo, so we're okay. Softy, for now, P3 on the road, should take the race victory, unless he drops 1 more second behind Phil. Phil will cross the line to take the win here at Monza. It's been a fantastic drive, but unfortunately for him, a 3-second time penalty is going to lose him the win. He crosses the line to take the checker flag first in Monza, but it's not enough. Matt Tibbles will be second, but for him it's not enough. Softy crosses the line, takes the win. Aidan will be second. Phil does still take a podium position, a great result for him. It's the Mercedes of Matt and Con, 4th and 5th. Dan the man recovers to 6th. What a race for him. We were following the front so much, such a great race. We didn't have a chance to see the progress of Dan in the background. But Aidan, what a response from his poor qualifying. What a race. Wow, Roy, let me get my breath back.
Wow, absolutely incredible. I'm very intrigued to see now what the gap was actually between the top 9, as Dan the man gets driver of the day, coming from the back up to 6th position. Phil Bargewell will be absolutely gutted with that result, and I have to say I'm gutted seeing it unfold. Softy takes the win in Monza, crossed the line in P3, but very, very interesting race, very entertaining, very great to commentate on, and let's just see how close this battle actually was, because I'm surprised you even have any breath left at all after that.
I'm struggling. Jordan did finish P12 in the end, just missed out on points. He was a couple of seconds back. If he had pitted under the VSC, I think he would have comfortably been in that side, that top 10. Andy, what a result for him. He was only 6 seconds off the win in the end. Look how close it is in the order. We've got just 3/10 the difference between Aidan and Softy. The fastest lap did go to Matt Tibbles in the end, so at least he takes that bonus point. Not that it's much consolation as he misses out on the podium once again, but 7.5 seconds covering the top 10, and there was no safety car. Absolutely fantastic racing here in TGP1. We have been treated to a real great result, but it's a disaster for Corey, who finished P17. The Alfa Romeo driver not scoring any points once again, as was his teammate J-Luke. Not to the race that Alfa Romeo needed. Who was your driver of the day, Roy?
Very, very hard to say. I'd probably actually give it to Aidan. I think, after starting P11 on the grid, making his way up to 2nd place, very, very impressive from the Racing Point driver.
Indeed it was. Fantastic race from him to finish P2 from 11th on the grid. Softy will be very happy to take that race victory, especially after just coming together with Corey a little earlier on. But wow, what a race. And next it's Monaco. So, if you thought Italy was pretty tense, Monaco should be just as good.
2 completely different types of tension. One, you're trying to manage your ERS, whereas Monaco is just about keeping it out of the wall, and qualifying at Monaco is always a spectacle.
Indeed it is, and it will be Monaco at night. Monaco, it will be at night time, so we like to do things a little differently here in the final season of the game, and for TGP1 we do Monaco at night, so it will be quite a spectacle.
Dan the man will certainly be looking to capitalise on last season's result after throwing away what has to be said. It has to be said he threw away a win, deciding to pit under virtual safety car. I don't know, to this day I think it baffles everyone who has witnessed it, but the Ferrari driver will be hoping to have a much smoother race this season.
Next week we have the United States and Canada. We're travelling over to the States for week 4 of TGP1. Of course, tomorrow night, do stick with us. Tomorrow we'll be back for TGP2. I believe you'll be in the box with Dan the Man for courage. And TGP2 has been so close this season. We've got Jack, Mike, Lucas, Smokey, Sean, Sam Hickey, so many drivers in the title fight. Don't know if you've been following it or not, but it's been a really close season, and I'm really looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, as am I. I think it's going to be very interesting to see at the front. Yeah, who can? It's all about consistency with TGP2 sometimes, as we saw last season. I think, Alistair proved that, if you can string a good set of results together, things can go your way. And I think that's very much the case for Jack and Mike. So tune in tomorrow to see that. We load up the Monaco session. Drivers getting ready. Of course, will we see the Monaco Grand Prix happen in real life? We didn't see it in 2020. You know why. But hopefully, hopefully 2021 will provide a different story. As we're just waiting for Camo Babo's internet to kick in. And I believe we're all ready.
A few comments in the YouTube stream. Demji Jordan wishes her boyfriend Jordan the best of luck tonight. And Quimbles TV says Phil is a bottle job. And he apologises to Softy that he cannot be there tonight. AlphaTauri is well and truly a one-man team tonight.
If any viewers have any comments they would like to make, please do hit us up on the YouTube channel, and we will hopefully get back to them at some point. As we see Monaco under the floodlights. Who will be the first driver out on track? And Paul is retired.
I thought maybe he'd crashed, but no one's left the pits yet, so that can't be the case. So Paul is out of qualifying then. I think he just thinks, no, I'm not qualifying here. It's Monaco. I'll start at the back. But you do not want to start at the back at Monaco. You're in so much traffic that can't be good for your race. I think would you rather start midfield or the back of the pack, Roy?
I think again Monaco is just a complete lottery sometimes, but it's just, let's just say I would not deliberately start at the back in Monaco. It's that's a strange one. I don't quite know why he has retired. I believe the first car out on track is Kong Hofner in the Mercedes.
So then, qualifying 18 minutes ahead of us as we prepare for the Monaco Grand Prix, round 6 of this 35th season. All the drivers going out now for their first of what is likely to be 3 runs. Maybe they'll get 4 in if there's enough time, but the drivers leaving the pit lane now. And as you said, I think it is the Mercedes of Kong Hofner that is going to be the first driver to start their lap in this session. Softy then, of course, winner at Monza. That's now 4 wins this season. He's looking pretty good at the front, isn't he? I think if this form continues, we could be looking at a 5th title for the Englishman.
Yeah, certainly looking good for Soft Cop. Of course, don't want to jinx anything, but yeah, I mean, if this run of form continues, then yeah, he's going to be extremely difficult to beat. And uncharacteristic of Soft Cup, he's actually on the soft tyres at the start of the qualifying session.
Wow. Well, maybe Softy's realised that he's got to start getting some good runs in, and maybe because it's Monaco, you can't really afford to be leaving your soft runs to a minimum. So Softy then does now start his first time lap of the session on the soft tyres. What can he go? Normally, as you said, starts on the mediums. Again, I say it's for him to show off. He says it's for him to get his eye in. But today he has chosen not to do that. We've got a yellow flag in Sector 3. I'll keep an eye out for that. I think a Ferrari has gone off. Thankfully for Dan the Man, he is not out qualifying in the open a few minutes like he was at Monaco. But Softy on his first timed run of the session. He won't be the first driver to complete a lap, but he will be the first respectable time that we see at the front. We expect pole could be between Dan, Softy, Phil, Johners, maybe even Aiden and Jack Hickey. The 2 racing points, they've had a great start to the season. They finished 2nd and 10th at Monza to extend their constructors' lead, and Softy hasn't validated his time, and that's why he probably on the softs, because he knows it's so hard to hook it all up and get it together.
And Johners has also invalidated his lap. He's the car just behind. So who is the highest placed driver so far? Of course it doesn't actually matter, there's no rankings, but J. Luke is out there on a lap. He's set a purple first sector, but I don't believe that is genuine because no one's actually set a lap. So I believe Kong Hofner's on an out lap again somehow, so I think he must have damaged his car on the out lap and had to pit. So disaster for the Mercedes driver at the start of this qualifying session. It's not what you need, because Monaco, it's all about getting into a groove, and it's all about avoiding these walls, and it's not a great sign when you do it on your outlap, as Jack Hickey is the first car to set a lap time. It's a 1 minute 9.3, followed by Dan with a 1 minute 9.5. I think the Ferrari driver will be quite disappointed with that, but then again, you should have enough time for 4 runs in this session, so it's all about getting your eye in. And he has set a banker lap. Has Phil with a 109.7. Waze, well, Waze will have to improve on that. It's currently a 112.1 for the Haas driver. But as J. Luke pops into P4 for the Alfa Romeo team, as Corey goes fourth, is there any point even mentioning the drivers' names? Everything's changing every second. But Jack Hickey still with the fastest lap.
For the line, can Matt Tibbles go quick as he doesn't? It's still 3/10 off the pace of Jack Hickey. He goes P3 as Softy back in the pit lane for a new set of tyres. So Softy once again bailed out on his second lap, so already 5 minutes into the session, yet to set a time on the board. But Jack Hickey, the best of runners so far.
Johnner's going for another run on this set of tyres, but he did clip the Rascas corner with his back wheel and slid into the wall, so he did lose a lot of time in that final sector. Don't know if it was enough to cost him provisional pole, but it was definitely enough to cost him provisional front row. But the Renault driver currently sits in 7th place. Johners, of course, took pole in the last race in Monza, so can he repeat this form?
Well, I told you he was looking quick. Ginger Andy, he had a great result last time out. P8 it was, I think, in the end at Monza. And he is to the track. He really does well at. He really takes advantage of the wheel use around here. Can he go pole at this first time session? He does by a 10th, a 109.2. A great lap from Andy. He goes quickest so far. As I said, a 10th clear of Jack Hickey, and that's a very good time to set at the start of this qualifying session.
Very solid effort from the Scotsman. I think he'll be pleased with that as a banker lap. Now he can just set his sights on building on that. A 109.2 is a very solid lap. So yeah, now he can just keep chipping away. He can afford to take a bit more risks now. Once you get a solid banker lap in, you can afford to do that. So yeah, very, very good start from the Scotsman. He still leads Jack Hickey, and I believe no one else is on a lap just yet. We've Alistair Bain on an out lap at the Nouvelle Chicane. I believe he's the highest placed driver so far who's not coming into the pits, or in the pits. So let's see what the young Scotsman can do. Oh, Softy, of course, is also on an outlap.
Yeah, so the majority of the drivers now back in the pits to get their tyres, but Alistair and Softy, who have yet to set a lap, will have to now get a move on. Start to, the tension start to rise when you find yourself at the back of the grid at Monaco with time running down. But Alistair and Softy will now start their first time runs of the session. Softy is halfway around the track, so for now we'll stick with Alistair. He will be the next driver to complete a time in this session. The reigning TGP2 champion really came alive last season, didn't he? He had the reputation for being quick, but a little accident prone. Not into other drivers, but by himself. He'd spin it, he'd lose out, he'd crash out of the lead by himself many a time. But last season it all came together. He finally put a good string of results all together, and he came out victorious, beating some strong competition, of course, with Owen, Jordan, and Cannavaro. All are in TGP1 this season and currently are all ahead of him in this session. Jordan and Cannavaro 12th and 13th for now. Alistair 15th. Owen not here tonight. Former TGP2 champion at work, so will not joining us, but he is in the comment section enjoying the live stream. What can Alistair do then on his first time run in this session? It's been a pretty safe first sector. Softy also improving in the first sector. Alistair keeps it tight through that chicane, doesn't cut the corner. Very easy to do and pick and invalidate lap time up. But the Renault, where will this be? It should be a reasonable time. I think it could be around 6th or 7th. Maybe he can displace his brother, Aidan Griffin's in P6 at the moment. Where does he go? He goes 10th, so he didn't quite have the best final sector then. And now it's over to Softy. What can he do?
Softy now heading through the tunnel. There's a racing point just ahead. He should get out of his way when the opportunity arises, as he does. Yep. Softy through the Nouvelle Chicane, then a bit of a lock-up, and he's managed to keep the lap valid. Alpha Tauri driver now heading into Tabac. What can his second sector be? Purple by the looks of things, as he heads through the second part of the swimming pool chicane, all neat and tidy. Through the Rascas, you don't want to go too deep, and he handles that very nicely. Through Anthony No's corner, what can he do now? On the pit straight, running up to the line, he sets a 1 minute 8.5. Wow. Well, that's there's a benchmark.
think I speak for everyone when I say we want to see Andy on pole position. How does Andy respond then? He's in the pit lane, and Dan the Man was purple in the second sector, but he has now validated his lap time. As I said, on board with Alistair, it's so easy to do. And Dan will now dive back into the pit lane, will he? Oh no, he's going to go again, I think. Or just at least finish his lap to see where he could have gone. But now let's turn to, I believe, Jack Hickey and Matt Tibbos. Jack Hickey is ahead on the road, only just by a couple of seconds. There's also the Alfa Romeo of Corey on another lap just behind these two. But that's on Hickey in that wreck. Currently P3. He's a 10th off Andy, but a massive 8/10 off Softy. This is a circuit that Softy does so well at. He's won here many a time. Not quite as many as Dan, but a win here would bring him one closer to Dan's record at this circuit. Jack Hickey looking quick in this racing point. It's not the fastest middle sector so far, but it is a 2/10 improvement on his current time. This will put him into P2 as things stand, as Aiden sits P4 in the second racing point, improving on his time at 1:09.494. Where can Jack Hickey go? His teammate, will this be enough to go at least second onto the front row of the grid? He crosses the line. Where does he go? Into P2, a 1:08.9. The second driver into the 1:08. Matt Tibbers is next to go through, a 1:09.1. He's in third. What about Corey? Corey hasn't validated his lap, so he will not be improving, but Softy, for now, 4/10 clear of Jack Hickey.
And Dan the Man is on another lap. He's heading into back now, currently running in P6 with a 1:09.5. Oh, okay, well this must be an in lap then, because it's yeah, he's not on the pace. Aidan Griffins, I don't think he's on a good lap either, or is he? It's hard to tell with the telemetry sometimes. But Andy, I believe, has invalidated his lap time, unless this is an out lap. Which I believe it is, because he's about to start another lap. What can the McLaren driver do as he heads into turn 1, currently running in P4, which, I mean, he said before the session he was aiming for a top 6 position. And so far he's done that, but of course there is still plenty of time left in this session.
Yep, still 8 minutes to go, still half of the session remaining. You've got Ginger Andy looking quick. He's got a few cars ahead of him who want him to get out of the way as soon as possible. Alistair Bain in the Renault just in front of him, so Alistair not on a lap at the moment, but look to get out of the way at the earliest possible opportunity. Ahead of him there's another Mercedes as well, which I believe is Kong Hoffner, who I think is on a lap, so he shouldn't be much of a problem. Alistair gets out the way, and Andy now has a clear run to the finish. Will this be enough to go into the front row once again? He's got to find 3/10 if he's to displace Jack Hickey, currently P2. The McLaren driver, it just looks so sweet, doesn't he, at this track, Roy, a circuit he really likes.
Yeah, it's definitely something that he enjoys, and he's purple through the second sector. Can Andy just hook it up through the Rascas and through Anthony Noah's corner? He's just got these 2 corners left to go. It's looking neat so far. Can he get a clean exit now onto the pit straight? Looks like he has. DRS wide open now. Can Andy take provisional pole back? No. Oh. Okay.
That was a shame. It looked like he might have been improving, but unfortunately it's not enough for him. So who else is now to complete a lap? I think Camababo is on a timed run at the moment. Currently P15, promoted from TGP2 last season. He'll want to be getting in the top 12. I think that's a reasonable target for him. Always great to see Camababo, great racer on the circuit and a great person off the circuit too. Where can he go in that Williams? Well, I think everyone's coming through as purple in sector 2, so I won't take much notice of that. Camababo round the final couple of corners now, just a few more to negotiate. He's got the McLaren of CJH right behind him. He might get a distant tow and improve himself on that P10 at the moment. The Williams driver runs to the line. Can he improve on his current 1:11.5? He does. He goes 6/10 quicker, but it's only enough to go into P14. Who is out on track for their next time run? Softy might be on a lap now, I think, as Andy looks set to return to the pit lane. I think Softy is the man on track at the moment and improving.
Yeah, heading into the Nouvelle chicane now. This is where you can invalidate your lap, and he's done that very nicely, as the Haas on the outside of the track is actually retired. Now Softy sets the purple sector, which we will ignore because of the telemetry issue. That was my mistake earlier on. But now just the final 2 corners to negotiate. Bit of a lock up, but looking neat so far. Can he get a clean exit onto the pit straight? Yes, he can. DRS wide open, and the AlphaTauri driver heads towards the pit line. 1:08.2. 7/10 clear of the next car, which is Jack Hickey in the racing point.
I think Softy's taking the piss here now, isn't he?
Yeah.
7/10 clear of the rest of the field. Dan the Man next, I think, to set a time lap.
Dan the Man will be looking for pole, or at least top 3, I'd say. But yeah, 1:08.2, that's going to be very difficult to beat. But he heads through to back, and the first part of the swimming pool chicane. keeps it valid. Yeah, everything's looking good so far. Can the Williams get out of the way? Just about. I think Dan's gone a little bit deep into Rascas though, as he heads through the final corner. Bit of a wiggle on the exit. DRS wide open. Take the shortest route to the line, and he sets a 1. Did he improve? I don't think he did. I think he was 1.
He's gone P4. He's gone quicker. 1092. I think
Yes,
he was behind
apologies.
Andy and Aiden, but has gone up a couple of places as J. Luke invalidates his lap back in 15th position. The slowest of the drivers that's still out there on circuits. That's not what he needed with 4 minutes to go. 5th pre-season favourite, I think he was, with Betnoon. And unfortunately for him, at the moment, he's going to be starting down at P15 as we see this lull of the session where the drivers are in the pits or about to set their laps.
And I believe Phil Bargewell is the next car over the line, or to start a new lap. So let's stay on board with the Ferrari driver, the man, of course, who of course crossed the line first in Monza, but could not take the victory due to a time penalty. What can his first sector be like? It's 700s off. Now, I believe that 700s off pole position. I never quite tell with these Codemasters games what the telemetry actually means, but I believe I have it set to be related to the pole time, but that doesn't seem to be the case. As the Ferrari driver heads through the tunnel, yellow flag in sector 1, I believe that's just someone letting someone else through. Can Phil keep it valid through the Nouvelle chicane?
Oh! Round he goes, the Ferrari driver spins himself, and he will just have enough time to get back to the pits, I think, and get one more run in, but that's not what he needed. Down in P7, and that will knock his confidence for his next run, of course.
Yeah, old age getting the better of poor Phil Bargewell there. But let's see, who is... Andy's on a lap again.
Andy's just starting a lap, yeah. Let's go with Andy.
Heading up the hill now into turn 3. The McLaren driver will, well, I mean, he said before, top 6 he'd be happy with, but I think now, looking how close he is to the front row, he's going to be chasing that. And I believe he's a 10th down in the first sector, and I think he's gone deep into Mirabeau as well for good measure. So this hasn't been a very smooth start for the Scotsman. He's going to need to be absolutely perfect through the rest of the lap if he wants to improve. But yeah, he's a bit tail happy on the exit, perhaps a bit deep through Portier as well. Hopefully the Renault in front will get out of the way. Of course, I believe he should. But yeah, heading into the Nouvelle chicane now. It's still valid. So he's giving up.
I think he's backed out anyway. I think he's given up. So Jack Hickey into the pit lane. He's going to be very tight if he can get out again in time for another lap. Softy has left the pit lane, as has the Renault in front of him of Jonas. But Matt Tibbers is currently the fastest man on circuit at the moment as Andy tries to get one more lap in. We've got Matt Tibbers on a quick lap, currently quicker in the first sector on his own time by about 200ths of a second. Aiden also now starting his final time lap of the session. So we come into the final closing minutes. This is where the drivers will start to set their best times and hopefully try to take pole position. But look at that lead of Softy, 7/10 of a second. Softy might not even need an extra lap at the moment. We'll see what Matt Tibbers can do here. This is going to be his final run of the session, I think. Round the final corner, can he improve on that 1091? It's set at the moment. He's got to find 9/10 to displace Softy from pole position. Can he at least get onto the front row? That he does. Just about 3,000 quicker than Jack Hickey as Aiden next on a lap.
What can the Racing Point driver do? Currently in P6. It's a decent effort from the Scotsman, and he's messed up the Nouvelle chicane there. So I think that will be
not what he needed,
Aiden, unless he can get enough ERS to last him another lap. But yeah, not what he needed.
So then, Ginger Andy, currently P5, currently improving in the opening sector. He only needs to find, I think, a 100th and a half to go ahead of Dan the Man, who himself has just started his final lap of the session. It's very quick so far from Andy. He's throwing that McLaren around. He's finding time. Is it enough to go ahead of Dan the Man? He only needs a little bit of time to go into that second row of the grid. He'll be very happy if he gets to the top 4. Aiden is done. He will start no higher than 7th. Ginger Andy to the line. Can he improve and go in the second row? He does. A 108.993 and just off Jack Hickey and Matt Tibbers.
Oh, that is cruel. 7,000ths of a second off the front row. Wow. Yeah, I think he'll be happy, but at the same time gutted to not be higher than that. But yeah, 4th place, very solid effort from Andy. He's strong at Monaco and he's showing it tonight.
Well, what can Corey do? Can he improve on his time? He cannot. He is not going to have another run. Softy hasn't bothered. He's given up with his lap. A 108.2 is the fastest time in the session. I don't think that's going to be beaten because Andy's not improving. Dan the Man is not improving. He won't get another lap in. Corey won't get another lap in. Qualifying is almost complete. We've got very few runners left on laps. I think Jonas will be the next of them. Currently P8 in his Renault He himself is up in the first sector at the moment, though. He'd only go into P7 or 6. It'll be really tight with Corey and Aiden, depending on where he goes in the middle sector. But he's down in the middle sector. He's 2/10 further adrift than he was in the first sector. He's got an AlphaTauri in front of him, losing a bit of front wing. That is Softy. He will not be a problem. Softy gets out of the way. Can Jonas find an improvement here? He needs 2/10, as I said, to get into the top 6. He crosses the line. Where does the Renault driver go? He stays P8. And I think it's just the Williams now of Cannavaro and Jordan to complete the qualify. And Cannavaro has invalidated his lap. So it's just Jordan to go. Where can Jordan go? P10.
Solid effort from the Williams driver, qualifying ahead of the reigning TGP2 champion Alex Urbain. But Alex Urbain does of course get free tyre choice, and strategy around Monaco can be crucial because overtaking opportunities are quite limited, to say the least. But soft cup
could be very interesting.
3
looking very good, isn't it?
of a second ahead.
Ooh. It's a lot.
Softy, assuming all goes to plan for him, has to be the favourite for this race. It's you have to be a bit boring and predictable when I say that, but it's it'll be strange to go with someone else at this point. Yeah, Soft Cop, a brilliant pole position, 1:08.2 ahead of Matt Tibos. Jack Hickey, an excellent third place in the Racing Point. Andy, a brilliant fourth place for McLaren. Dan the Man in P5 might be slightly disappointed with that one. Corey in 6th, with Aidan Griffins just behind in P7. Johnners takes P8, with Phil Bargewell in 9th. Jordan in 10th, and then outside the top 10 we've got Alistair, CJH, Kong Hoffner, Camo Babo, J Luke, Waze, and rounding out the grid it is Paul McGuinness, who did not set a qualifying time.
Well, let me throw a question to you, Roy. If there is a safety car on lap 1, do you pit or do you stay out?
I think if I was in Softy's position, I think I'd actually stay out. It's a tough one because the problem is if there's a safety car on lap 1, you can get stuck in the pit lane from cars queuing, which we saw happen to Softy back in Bahrain. So it can be a bit of a lottery sometimes, and I'm very intrigued to see how this plays out. But yeah, I think Softy might actually be better staying out if that were to be the case. But if you're at the back, then definitely pit. I think, you know, pit, maybe stick a set of hards on and just go to the end and keep track position.
I think it would be funny if Softy came into the pit lane and then in lap 1, no one else pitted, so Softy rejoins at the back of the field. That'd be a sight to see.
Yes, I agree. That would provide top quality entertainment, and we have just 10 seconds to go before the start of the race. Just about half the drivers yet to say that they're ready, but yeah, we're about to start here in Monaco under the floodlights. Will this happen in real life one day? Well, let's see. Let's wait and see. Will Monaco ever happen again? Let's wait and see. But as we wait now, just Waze left to ready up, or although it might actually be his internet that's trying to ready up instead. But yeah, just waiting on the Haas driver.
It's always so tense, isn't it? As you lead up to the race, just waiting for the lights to go out. They'll be sat on the grid now, the drivers waiting for Waze's car to get on the circuit, but it's always so tense this. I always find it so nervous the moments before the lights are about to go out.
And Waze has left the session. 3 lights, 4, 5 lights, and we're underway in Monaco, and it looks like a great start for Softy. He keeps the lead into turn 1, which is ever so crucial at this circuit. And it's 3 wide just behind. Can Andy get a position? No, he cannot. In fact, he's actually lost places off the line. He's down to 5th. As Dan the Man jumps into 4th, Andy now down to 6th. Soft Cop manages to keep the lead with Matt Tibos and Jack Hickey following just behind. Dan the Man P4 with Corey up to 5th. Andy's going to be absolutely gutted with that. And we see battles behind. Phil Bargewell is now up to 8th. He's got ahead of Johnners. Leclerc is now up to 10th as Waze has rejoined us. Paul is somehow still at the back, and it's all very, very slow into the chicane, or the hairpin I should say. And Soft Cup already built up a 9/10 gap. AWS believes the pit stop strategies will be somewhere between laps 6 and 12. Thank you for that, Amazon. And Soft Cup now a 1.1 second gap. It's actually the biggest gap on track. The gap between first and second. So Softy making great use of these tyres and the clean air at the start of the race. Jack Hickey still runs in 4th place, and yeah, I believe everybody has settled, or maybe not actually, as Dan looks to have a look at the back of Jack Hickey. Dan, of course, is quite quick around Monaco. It's just about nailing that ultimate lap time. As we see someone in the pits already, Aiden pits on lap 1. Now, is that...
Yeah, so Aiden banged the wall on the opening lap. He wasn't in any fight with anyone, but he went a bit too wide, understeered into the wall, and unfortunately for him, has picked up a orange front wing, I believe it was, and he had to dive into the pit lane. He had Phil all over him. Phil got a great start, a great move on Jonas as well, crucially gaining 2 places. Track position is so important here at Monaco, and you can see already that Phil has gained 2 places into P7, now looking at the back of Ginger Andy. But at the front, as you said, we've got a great fight, very all tightly bunched between Matt Tibos downwards, but Aiden, not the start he needed. He's now got to go to the end on those medium tyres, as Dan the Man looks to race Jack Hickey for P3.
Softy now with a 2.2 second gap at the front. But yeah, Dan is all over the back of Jack. Now he just, like, this is the case last season, of course. Dan put himself in that position last season by pitting into the virtual safety car. But yeah, it's Dan versus Jack Hickman yet again for a podium place. But at the moment the gap is just about too big. It's at this point of the race where everyone just needs to settle in, get into a groove, and then let's just see how the strategy plays out. We've no incidents so far, well, apart from Aiden of course, but yeah, no threat of a safety car just yet.
Yeah, it's been a very clean start. It was only Aiden that picked up damage, and that of course wasn't by himself. He just understeered into the corner. He was trying to get racy with Andy, but instead missed his turning point, or the car just understeered into the barrier, and that, unfortunately for him, has put him at the back of the grid in some clean air now, so maybe it's not a bad thing around Monaco. We could see him come back into the race later on, but that pace from Softy at the front is quite impressive. 3 seconds clear already. We're only on the 3rd lap. I think Softy, it's too early to say. It is Monaco. Softy has lost wins from the lead before, twice at this circuit, but I'm going to put all my money now on Bet News to say that Softy is going to win this race.
Yeah, and I would do the same if I was a betting man. It's just...
But do stick with us in this coverage.
Yes,
There's
yes,
still
please
a lot
do.
more to decide.
Yes, midfield is of course incredibly tight, and yeah, Soft Top does actually have the biggest gap to any car apart from the cars who have pitted or have disconnected. So rest of the field still incredibly tight, as the intervals have disappeared on my screen. Apologies for that, that is out of my control. But Jack Hickey is actually all over the back of Matt Tibos. Now, is this just ERS, or is the Racing Point driver looking very, very quick in this race? But yeah.
Well, Jack Hickey, he has more ERS management left than Matt Tibos, and Matt Tibos is using more to keep Jack Hickey back. ERS doesn't really recover here and not use it much. And I think Softy out front has 50% of it left, whereas Matt Tibos just 35%, and then Jack Hickey behind him on 55%. It's so important to get your rears right around here because it does not recover. For some reason, the braking points aren't enough to trigger it to go back up to full charge. But Matt Tibos isn't looking quick, is he? I don't think he has any damage, but Jack Hickey and Dan the Man are sticking with him, and this is allowing Softy to pull off into the distance, and Softy might even have a free pit stop at some point.
Yeah, I think at this point, you know, you asked, you know, if the safety car came out earlier in the race, you know, do you pit? I think in Softy's case, yes, you do, because he's got enough of a gap. But yeah, it's still very close between 2nd, 3rd and 4th. It's very interesting to see how that plays out, because Matt Tibos is going to be under immense amounts of pressure as CJH picks up our first time penalty of the race at the New Bell chicane.
And it's a shame for him because he got a great start. He gained 3 places on the opening couple of laps. So the McLaren driver managed to find his way through as Matt Tibos dives into the pit lane at the end of the 4th lap. So choosing to come in early, and we'll see whereabout he comes back out on track. He doesn't have any front wing damage to repair, so it's a good pit stop. We've also got Ferrari out in the garage. Phil Bardwell choosing to pit early on, so Matt and Phil might actually come out on traffic here. There's a Williams and a Red Bull coming round the final corner, which is it's Cannavaro and Paul, which is not what Matt or Phil needs. They might be a little bit further back, so they might be okay, but Matt Tibos making an early pit stop, and we'll see what Softy does now to respond.
As I say, it's a strange one from Matt Tibos. He does have a bit of a gap to Paul, but with Matt's pace advantage, you can imagine that's going to disappear pretty quickly. So interesting move from the Mercedes driver. I mean, is he going for a win? Does he have the pace to win regardless? I mean, maybe he would have been better off settling for 2nd, but I think actually he's just covering the undercut. But yeah, very interesting to see from the Mercedes driver pitting on lap 4 of the race. But yeah, we've now released Jack Hickey into 2nd place, and Jack Hickey has actually built a gap to Dan the Man. Has Dan picked up any damage? I don't believe he has. So yeah, it's an interesting strategic decision, as Softy's lead is ever increasing. Can't tell you what it is because there's no intervals, but yeah, the AlphaTauri driver in the zone at the moment, actually about to lap J-Lu.
I think Softy's best bet here is just to stay out. He's got the pace, he's got the gap. Just stay out on track, set the fast laps. He doesn't want to pit, come out in traffic, or pit and then suddenly a safety car VSC comes out, which allows others to gain time on him. Softy in a race of his own at the moment. 6 seconds clear of Jack Hickey. It's almost Schumacher, Senna-esque at Monaco here. I remember races from them in the past where they just dominated the race all the way through, and Softy is doing that at the moment. It's been a great start for the McLaren of CJH 87, currently P6 at the moment. He's gained a few places and on the medium tyres, so worth to keep an eye on him.
On the medium tyres and right behind Johnners. I don't think Johnners has any damage, and neither of them have pitted as of yet. So yeah, very impressive pace from the McLaren drivers. You see a yellow flag in sector 1. Kong Hoffner has retired at turn 3.
Virtual safety car. So it's not a full safety car, but now surely this is beautiful timing for Softy, Jack, Dan and Andy all the time into the pit lane. Softy comes into the pits, and it's a good job for him it wasn't 5 seconds later. Otherwise, he would not have got that free call. And unfortunately for Matt Tibbos, this means that he is going to lose a few places, because the everyone in front of him is going to gain a lot more time having stayed out. Because Softy had to wait a little bit there on my screen. I think it was just a glitch, but Softy, Jack, Dan, Andy and John is all coming into the pit lane as expected. As CJH, I believe, might have stayed out and might take the lead. He has.
Yeah, he has taken the lead ahead of Softy. I don't think Softy's going to be too impressed by that, but he's got, he has the net race lead regardless. CJH electing not to pit because Andy, of course, was right ahead of him and he did not want to queue. But Jack Hickey and Dan also pitted. Dan actually making a correct strategic decision at Monaco for once. But yeah, very impressive from the Ferrari driver, as the other Ferrari driver, Phil Bartrell, picks up a 3-second time penalty for the second time this week.
Yeah, not what he needs, but Matt Tibbos crucially now behind Jack Hickey and Dan the Man. He was ahead of both of them before the stops. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, that VSC for him, but he has lost 2 places, which of course is at the moment 6 points, which is not what he needs. Softy then, right on the back of the McLaren of CJH. How hard will CJH make Softy work for this? He'll know that Softy is the quickest guy by some margin on the track at the moment. His gap is 4.6 to Jack Hickey, but that gap could start to come down with CJH on old medium tyres, 6-lap old tyres, for now holding position on the circuit. Will he choose to pit? I think he's going to go to probably around lap 10 or 11. The softs are good, but they're not too great around here. Softy will want to clear this McLaren as quickly as possible. Will he get a good run into turn 1? The DRS and ERS will be in full use now. How much will the McLaren defend the position? Softy's going to go for it, is he? He doesn't, tries to put the McLaren off, and for now sits behind him.
I think CJH would be probably just better off letting Softy through if he does manage to get his nose down the inside, because, well, there's no point really. I mean, CJH has not stopped, nor has Camo Babo. They're the only drivers in this race who have not pitted, and Softy's desperately trying to make a move here. I don't think he needs to. Well, I mean, if he can get a clean run, fair enough, but I don't think he needs to try any desperate manoeuvres, because he's got the track position. He's still got a 3-second gap to Jack Hickey. It's incredibly difficult to overtake. We saw how much of a gap Softy was able to pull at the start of the race. There's no need to make any wild manoeuvres, but can he go down the inside at the chicane? Well,
Softy doesn't need to be making that move, and this is going to allow the drivers behind to close up on him if he's going to lose from him or something. CJH keeps his position. Softy was coming back from a long way back. He tried to go through it, but there wasn't enough room, and CJH holds on for now. The net lead of this race. We've got Court watching the stream. Hello, Court, the lesser famous Gillison brother. Of course, his big brother was racing Alonso and Barrichello the other day. Meanwhile, Court was probably reading a book or doing something less important. But Softy, is this now his best chance to take the McLaren position on the outside into turn 1? CJH will break a little later, but Softy will get a better line, will he? He almost loses the back ends, as does the McLaren. But for now, he holds on to the lead. Softy's going to try and go side by side. These two are getting so close. But Softy takes the position. He gets himself through, finally. And now he'll start to pull clear, because Jack Hickey himself now will have to try and get through on the McLaren.
Wow, I have to say, if that was, a battle for the lead, for the net lead, that would have been brilliant racing. But I think it was a bit... admittedly a bit silly from the both of them. Neither of them needed to do that. They've both cost themselves time, although I suppose Softy, at least it's more excusable. But yeah, CJH, I don't think he needed to defend as hard as he did, but now he's got Jack Hickey all over the back of him. How quickly can Jack Hickey and Dan the Man displace CJH, as Matt Tibbos is now back up into 5th position, but he still has lost those 2 places now thanks to the virtual safety car, which has enabled Jack and Dan to pit.
Yeah, he's 4.5 seconds back from Dan. I don't think he's going to do anything about Dan and Jack Hickey ahead. He just doesn't seem to have the pace here. Now that Dan and Jack Hickey are clear, I say that, they're now right on the back of the McLaren. Will he choose to pit this time round? He doesn't. He's going to stay out. So he's going to battle these drivers who are fighting at the front for the podium places. How much will we see Jack Hickey going for it? He's got Dan the Man right on the back of him. Corey, a 3-second time penalty, further in the background. Not looking good for him to score good points here at the moment. Down in P12, one of the championship favourites. What am I looking for here?
Pre-season title favourite.
A pre-season title favourite that has a former champion. There's the word. Sorry, my brain shut down for a few seconds.
Apologies.
Yeah. But Corey not looking good in P12 at the moment and back in the pits for a second time.
Not a good week for the Alfa Romeo driver. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. Must have picked up more damage. But actually, let's have a look. Can we see? No, I've changed too late. But soft cop now, 3.7 seconds clear of CJH, who of course has yet to stop. I believe he is now the only driver to have not stopped. So I think he's banking on another virtual safety car or full safety car. But then again, he is on the medium, so he might as well stay out because the tyres do have that extra bit of life. But Jack Hickey and Dan the Man all over the back of them, as we see a yellow flag in the final sector. I believe that was just an Alfa Romeo. I thought it was softy for a moment there, but I believe it was following the Alfa Romeo and not the Alfa Tauri. Jack Hickey with his DRS wide open, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think CJH just has enough pace to hold him off. See, at least in this case, CJH, there's not as much of a pace gulf between the drivers, so I mean, you can just about hold his position. As J-Luke retires from the session on the exit of turn 4. Now, will this bring out a safety car? The field is very dispersed, so it is possible, but I think we might just avoid it. Normally they get called by now. So, yeah,
but Dan the Man
will be pleased with that.
All over the back of the Racing Point of Jack Hickey, trying to find a way through, while Jack Hickey himself tries to find a way through the McLaren of CJH. We're not going to get a safety car for that. The incident has been cleared. J-League scores no points here today. It looks like Alfa Romeo are going to once again score no points at all tonight. CJH for now holds on to P2. Softy has rebuilt up the lead that he lost while he himself was fighting with CJH. For now, the gap is 6.9 seconds going up every corner. Will we see the McLaren this time finally come in? Is he waiting for another safety car or VSC? At the moment, he would come out around P12, so he would be outside the points. If he can go a bit longer and hope for maybe a VSC or a safety car, instance, of course, very likely to happen at Monaco, then we could see him gain places later on. But the pack really starting to bunch up now as Matt Tibbles just 2.4 back from damage out.
There was an incident at the hairpin involving Alfa Romeo. I think Corey may have hit the inside wall. But of course Martin Diver did that a few seasons ago and managed to destroy his car at 27 miles an hour, which was quite a spectacle. But Corey has actually left the session, potentially a disconnection there. But yeah, no points for Alfa Romeo yet again. And in the meantime, I believe Matt Tibos is slowly beginning to creep up now on this battle for the podium places. So CJH doing Matt Tibos a favour here by holding these guys up. But he'd want to close up a little bit closer. The gap is still 2 seconds, but yeah, it's working relatively well for Matt, given the unfortunate timing of the virtual safety car earlier on in the race. That wasn't good for Matt. 9.5 second lead.
It's looking pretty good, isn't it? He just needs to get to the end now. Doesn't need to make any mistakes. He can afford to lift off. He's got such a gap to the drivers behind us. They're all stuck behind CJH. It shows what kind of a circuit this is, that you just can't overtake him now, really, down into turn 1, unless you've got much more RERs, better traction, DRS, all that kind of stuff. You just can't find a way through. As we're seeing Jack Hickey struggling to clear the McLaren, and again, CJH chooses to stay out. How long in this race will he go on those medium tyres? Those medium tyres must be crying out now for help. They must be very worn, and Dan, all this time, sticking with the Racing Point of Jack Hickey.
I think at this point, if I was in CJH's position, I mean, if you're going to drop outside the points regardless of when you stop, you might as well just stay out until lap 17 until you know a safety car is not going to happen. Because, yeah, he might as well just keep going at this point, and hope for the best. Hope that someone behind him causes an incident, or perhaps even in front of him. Regardless, the only person in front of him right now is Softy, who's now built up another 2 seconds since I last spoke about the gap. So, he's just gone. He just needs to hope he doesn't replicate Senna in 1988 by hitting the wall all by himself. But yeah, Soft Top, he's just gained another half a second since I spoke. So yeah, it's still incredibly tight, as Matt Tibos is now only 1.2 seconds behind Dan the Man. So Matt Tibos has closed right in, so it's now becoming a 3-car battle once again for second place. Once CJH eventually comes into the pits, and Ginger Andy actually is now only a second off Matt Tibos, so I mean, who knows what this podium war is going to be by the end of it.
Well, Andy coming back into it thanks to his teammate, of course, who is holding up these drivers, so maybe there's a bit of McLaren interference going on here. CJH for now holds on to P2, 13 seconds back from Softy, and it shows how crucial it was for Softy to clear that McLaren, because the gap he has built up himself over 13 seconds with 6 laps of this race still to go. Gap starting to come down throughout the field. We have got Matt now on the back of Dan and Jack. As you said, Andy joining the fight too. Jonas and Phil also beginning to join the fight. Paul Magee is out of the race, and there's a safety car. Wow, that's exactly what we needed, and now surely CJH will pit this time round. And will Dan the man pit again for a second stop?
I was going to say, surely Dan will not pit again and learn his lesson from last season. But yeah, another safety car. Softy with just the 17-second lead, which is now going to be evaporated now. But yeah, it's good for Matt Tibos, it's good for Ginger Andy. What can they do? It'll bring Camel Babo into the... Actually, I don't think it will, because CJH will actually rejoin in P10, I believe. Maybe even higher up now, because the safety car will slow everyone down. So does Softy pit? He does not. So I think Softy even actually had enough of a gap to pit.
I think he did, didn't he? Yeah, he could have come in for new softs potentially. Maybe he didn't want to take the risk, but I think he would have actually come out ahead. So I don't think you do 17 seconds, do you?
I don't think so. No, not under safety car. I mean, he's in the groove. He's well and truly got his eye in on these medium tyres. So proving he can drive just fine on the mediums, even if he doesn't get his eye in qualifying. So yeah, Jack Hickey now up into second place. Dan the man completing the podium as things stand, with Matt Tibos in fourth. Ginger Andy in excellent P5, followed by Johners in sixth. Phil Bargewell seventh. Reigning TGP2 champion Alistair Bain in P8, followed by runner-up Jordan, and it's CJH rounding out the top 10 and the final point of the session, or of the race, I should say.
What can the second McLaren then of CJH do in the closing laps of this race? Of course, he's got a time penalty that he needs to counter, but he's on the soft tyres, the quicker tyres. Now it's his turn to try and pass the cars in front that are going to be on much worn, older, used tyres. But this is not what Softy needed. That gap, that 15-second gap that it got up to in the end, has come down to nothing. Softy has dominated this race, but with the safety car coming in at the end of the next lap, it should be a 4-lap dash to the end. And Softy will have 4 laps to try and hold off the pack of Jack, Dan, Matt, Andy, John and Phil behind. Alistair, Jordan and CJH for now as 8th, 9th and 10th, completing the points. But Camababo, Aiden, Waze and Corey will all come back into play as the safety car punches up the pack. And we should, as I said, have 1 more lap behind the safety car and a 4-lap dash to the end of the race.
Yeah, we should wait for the guys at the back of the field to catch back up. I believe Waze is the last car. He's currently at Mirabel. And I believe
we'll be waiting a while then.
Yeah. Although we should be at more or less racing speed, so once we have the pack all gathered up together, we should get going once again. And yeah, I'm fascinated to see how this plays out. I mean, Softy just needs to keep it clean and he'll easily have a victory, but of course one mistake now, he doesn't have that margin anymore, so he needs to keep on it. As Waze has picked up a penalty behind the safety car.
Wow.
Anyway, so yeah, Matt Tibos now in 4th place. He'll be ruining the timing of that earlier virtual safety car. He'll be looking to get back up onto the podium, but again, he's going to have to find a way around in Monaco, and Jack Hickey and Dan the Man have been looking very quick in this race. So it's going to be ever the challenge. What can Ginger Andy do in P5? Yeah, fascinating.
Well, of course, Court, as I mentioned before in the stream, not able to make tonight. He is back next week. What team is he race for again? I think it's the Haas, Waze's teammate. It is Haas.
Yes.
Not able to make tonight. So, Court in the comments has said he was watching Isaac's race at the weekend, so he wasn't reading a book or something like that. He was watching his brother, but he is still lesser famous. Gillison, would you agree with?
I mean, I would, yes, now that you've pressed me to it, and if you put a gun to my head, I would say yes. But still.
Well, safety car is about to come in now. Of course. Didn't win anything, but he's a legend, that's
anyway.
For sure. Softy then, about to restart this race with 4 laps to go. We're ahead of Jack Hickey, Dan and Matt Tibos. What will we see in 4 laps time? We're on the racing, and Aiden has got a 5-second penalty, which he's not going to be too happy about.
that may end up getting removed. There is some issues with the game sometimes with regards to those penalties, but yeah, Softy is... How has he done this? He's gained 8 tenths on Jack Hickey already. Dan the Man just 4 tenths behind Jack Hickey now in third place. Matt Tibos a further 9 tenths back. Ginger Andy is actually quite close to Matt Tibos. Can Ginger Andy make a move into Mirbo? He's too far back. But Ginger Andy will be trying his very best to get up as high as possible. But I think 5th place he will be pretty happy with at the end of the day.
Andy's target this season was to try and score points in every race possible. He scored 4 points last time out in Monza. He's looking very good for 10 at the moment. What will he do here? Will he choose to consolidate, take the position P5, take the 10 points, or will he see the bigger prize ahead? Maybe a podium potentially, and try and clear Matt and Dan. It's a big ask with just 4 laps to go in this race. But Softy, as you mentioned, clearing off into the distance. In fact, Jack Hickey also now a second clear of Dan, so is the Racing Point starting to clear off away from Dan. Still much more to play for here. Alistair fighting right on the back of Phil Bardwell. Just 4 tenths separate these two drivers. We've got another yellow flag. Aiden is out of this race. Another casualty. That is the 4th DNF from this race. He will not be scoring points. Of course, he finished 2nd at Monza. He's going to be down in 14th here at Monaco. Not what he needed as Jordan joins the battle with Jonas, Phil and Alistair for P6.
I think Aiden was at least out of the points, if that's any consolation to the driver for a Racing Point. But yeah, Softy has already built up a 1.3 second lead out in front. I think he can just take it home now. He doesn't need to push anymore. We've all seen how much pace he has, so no need for any showboating at the moment. Yeah, he's comfortable out front. Fairly spaced out between everyone so far, though Ginger Andy is quite close now to Matt Tibos. He's got a healthy amount of ERS. He's deploying the overtake through the tunnel. He really wants to get this 4th place, but I think he's going to be too far back as we head into the Newville chicane.
Time is running out for the McLaren driver to make his move. He can see the Mercedes right in front of him. Reminds me of when I think it was Verstappen was all over the back of Lewis Hamilton back at the 2019 Monaco Grand Prix, but just couldn't find a way through. The Mercedes was able to stay clear and hold the position, and he gets very close to the back of Matt Tibos. The gap now at just 2 tenths of a second. Where will he find his way through as they come onto the final couple of laps of the race? Softy begins the penultimate lap of this race and sets, I think, his charge to the finish line with Jack Hickey just a second back. But where will Andy find his move? Surely his only chances are going to be in turn 1 and the chicane there, Roy.
Yeah, I have to agree. Yeah, he's only 3 tenths back, but yeah, again, overtaking at Monaco, we cannot stress how difficult it is at this circuit. But Andy all over the back of Matt. I think he's clearly the quicker driver of the two. Can he make a move into Mirbo? It'll be risky stuff, and I don't think he's going to. No, he's way too far back. Although he's quite close heading into the hairpin. Can he make a lunge? No, I think Andy thinks better of it, but he is desperate. He is definitely quicker than the Mercedes driver, who's actually dropped back. He's 3.4 seconds back from Dan the Man, so Matt Tibos not with the pace. I don't think he's got any wing damage, none from what I could see. But yeah, Andy is the quicker driver right now, and he's trying everything he can to get into 4th place. He's looking down the inside, but he thinks better of it. Just needs a clean exit, and he hasn't done it. Wow. Well, I think he should still finish in the top 7, but yeah, it's not what he needed.
Good chance for Alistair now to gain a couple of places with Phil and Andy both carrying time penalties. What have you seen?
Andy has now damaged his wing on the exit of the swimming pool, so that's not going to do him any favours. It may not affect him at the end of the day in terms of position, but yeah, Softy starts the final lap. He's kept a steady gap now to Jack Hickey, and yeah, everything's spread out at the front now. I think it's a slight anticlimax apart from this battle here, but yeah, I don't think Matt has any wing damage. But yeah, it's still Softy out in front as we predicted. He's drove an excellent race so far, as has Jack Hickey and Dan the Man. Matt Tibos fading away towards the end. Ginger Andy trying everything he could, and you know, he might as well risk it while he's up that position. You know, I think he thought if he's ever going to get a podium, it's going to be around here. So I think he thought all or nothing in that position. Johnner's a very solid 6th position. Phil Bardwell showing good pace again. Alistair, I think, will be pretty pleased with P8 around Monaco, and Jordan also running in the points with CJH rounding out the points. Yeah, I think Kamababa will be disappointed, but as we see Softy now rounding the final corner, just one more corner, yep, take the shortest route to the line, and Softy wins the Monaco Grand Prix. Excellent drive from the AlphaTauri driver, pure dominance from start to finish. At one point had a 17-second lead. Just unbeatable today from the rest of the field. They tried their best, but yeah, it's Jack Hickey coming home in second with Dan the Man completing the podium. Matt Tibos in P4 from Mercedes. John is managing to get up to 5th at the end with his Renault teammate Alistair Bain in P6. Andy comes home 7th with Phil 8th, followed by Jordan, and I believe it was actually Camo Babo. He did actually manage to get into the points. He had less penalties. As I'm taking to the results screen, Alistair Bain, driver of the day. I mean, don't get me wrong, very solid effort, but I mean, I think we have to give it to Softy on this occasion.
58 career race victories for Softy now in TGP1. 12 back from the great James O'Connor. Of course, 70 wins for him. Softy closing now with 58. No surprise that Softy also took the fastest lap. I think 7/10 quicker than the next fastest, which was Jack Hickey. So Softy's definitely my driver of the day. I think he's your driver of the day, and that's another race win for him. 5 of the season, looking pretty dominant, isn't it, for the AlphaTauri driver?
Yeah, excellent work from the AlphaTauri driver. 2 wins tonight, extending that championship lead. With Dan the Man in 3rd and Matt Tibos 4th. It's looking pretty peachy for Softy at the moment, and it was actually CJH who picked up the final point. Excellent races tonight. Both Monaco and Monza, 2 very different circuits, but providing both providing incredible outcomes. And Corey scoring no points tonight. The former champion will be very disappointed with his showing. Of course, he crashed out in Monaco, and Monza, I should say. And I'm not quite sure what happened in Monaco, but I don't think he's going to be too pleased with that. But Softy solidifying that championship lead. Alistair Bain with a very successful weekend or week, I should say. And I think that just about wraps it up for this week's racing in TGP1, and I guess we'll see you tomorrow for TGP2 if you're tuning into that, and we will see you next week for some more action. Good night.